going to show you how to make a model of a lighthouse using some household junk and recycling and a switch. You can see here I've got my lighthouse model flashing away there using a switch and a simple circuit. I'm going to show you how to make this from start to finish in this video. So I'll put my model over onto one side and show you what you need to do to make this model in class. A simple shoebox, yogurt pots, plastic cups and a small box to be the maintenance house are all you need, along with a few components for making our simple circuit. So onto one side I'll put the box and yogurt pots just for now, because the first thing I'm going to do is to make a simple circuit with a switch for our lighthouse model. Some connector wires. You can use crocodile clips. We think it's more secure to use these connecting wires and to fix them onto the lamp holder using a screwdriver. And to do that, I'm going to make sure I've got enough wire to stretch from the top of my lighthouse all the way down through the lighthouse, across the rocky seashore to the maintenance house. So cut more than you think you're going to need. You can always take some off at the end if you've got too much. I'm going to cut that, and the same for the other wire. Cut that with the scissors. So we're going to need to strip the wires off to attach them to our light bulb in the holder. And to do that, I'm going to use the wire strippers just like this. Insert them, pull them back, and that will expose the wire. The plastic connector won't conduct electricity, so I can't use those. I have to have the bare wire here. And the same thing for the black wire as well. Just the covering that is a different colour. Nothing is different inside the wires. There they are. The conducting metal is exposed. So your bulb holder, make sure your bulb is secured in by screwing it in. I'm just going to undo these screws to allow me to connect the wire. To do that, just put the wire against the metal there, metal to metal, and just wind it round carefully around the screw. Put it under there. I want to put it nice and tight, so I'm just going to wind it around a couple of times, tucking it in, and then I'm going to use the screwdriver to just tighten that in with the screwdriver so it can't come undone as I'm using my model. There we go. Is it tight? If it's not, give it another quick tighten. That's nice and secure there. Imagine it takes a bit of moving around as it's being used. Same thing again, unscrew the screw, wind your wire around a few times, same as before. Any spare wires, tuck those around as well, so there are no stray stragglers. Again, depending on your class and their age and stage, this can be done for them, or you could have a class that could actually use this together with you to make the connection themselves. Screw it right down, it's going to hold. Now, I'm not happy with that. I'm going to begin again because that wasn't a very good one, so I'm going to do that again just to show you how to do it properly. So I'm going to pull the wires nice and straight, start them in there with my finger, get a good secure hold, and then wind it round in a oneer like that. Pull it, round again. That's much better that time. And I can screw it down for a nice secure connector. Again, I'm happy that's nice and secure, and the metal's touching the metal very importantly. Just to make sure that's working, I want to strip the ends off the other side. It's best at each part of the construction to test that your actual circuit's working. Then you can actually fix it if there's a problem. More difficult to do once you've got your model made. And to do that, to test it's working, I've got my metal exposed. I'm going to use my battery in the battery pack, or cells they're called sometimes, in this holder, with a little connector that fits onto the end. Again, metal to metal and exposed metal ends to connect to my bulb. So if I touch the ends onto the wires, my bulb should light. Okay, if it doesn't, go through troubleshooting ideas, perhaps change the bulb, change the batteries, cells, and make sure your bulb is actually working. Now, my lighthouse is going to flash, so I want to have a switch so I can interrupt the circuit, break it and then reconnect it to get the light to flash. So what I'm going to do is introduce the idea of a conductor, like this metal paper clip, not one covered in plastic of course, so we want the metal to be exposed, to form a switch that will make a connection, make a circuit, and then disconnect it again to give my flashing light. And to do that, I'm going to use these brass paper fasteners. Now they're going to be useful when I come to my model. As you'll see here, I want an area where I can actually make the switch and the connectors are there. So to do that, I'm going to just tuck the metal into the brass paper fastener, wind it round, secure it there, and the same with the other side here. Doesn't matter whether it's the black or the red that you use, because the wires are the same inside. Wind it round. There's my gap in the circuit. I'm going to make the red touch the wires together and wrap them round. Now, that will do for now, just a test. Let's imagine I've got my lighthouse model made. This is my switch. Will it work? Tuck it into there like that to hold one end. And then let's pretend I'm touching it together. That's working. Okay, great. I can now disconnect it and proceed with my model. There we go. Take everything apart just for now. Unwind that. There we go. Now, on to making the model itself. My circuit's working, got my switch working, happy with that, so it's time to get the model out. So for this, I mentioned before, it's just a collection of recycling. It's some yogurt pots and plastic cups. Now you'll notice, because I want to thread my wire through the pots and cups, I've actually cut a hole in all of these. I did this for the children. I used a craft knife for the yogurt pot very carefully myself. These plastic cups are slightly thinner, so you could use a pair of scissors to cut the top off if you wanted to, or I've just used the same thing, a pair of scissors at home, just to cut the holes in. So it's something worth perhaps doing yourself for the children to just make things a little bit safer and easier. So to make my lighthouse, I'm going to need 2 pots with holes cut in the bottom of them. The top yogurt pot just has to have 2 holes to put the wires through, and the bulb in the bulb holder sits on top like this with the wires threaded through. Now I did this at home. I've got a gas ring, heated up a metal skewer, and I made the holes myself in a very well ventilated kitchen. It's not something you could do with the children in class, but you could ask your high school to help you if you haven't got a gas ring and you want a bit more help with that. So that's the top of the yogurt pot. And then I've got 3 of these cups with holes in. One's going to be the lantern house at the top of my lighthouse. So just begin by taking the top yogurt pot. I'm going to thread my wires through the 2 holes. There we go. Gently pull it through. You'll see why it's good to have those really secure connections made with the screwdriver. And pulling it through nice and secure. So yogurt pot, then plastic cup. Pull them through. And that sits together like a threading game. Next, yogurt pot. Get down gently. Pull it through. Next, plastic cup. And finally, the last yogurt pot. Now, as you pull them through, that will straighten up the lighthouse tower. I've got my light on top. Now, I would then use some tape to secure the lighthouse in place before I proceed. So I'm just going to get some sellotape here just to make it secure. You'll have more time than me to make sure your lighthouse is all stuck together properly, but I'm just going to attach it to the base just now with some tape. So it won't move around too much. That will do for now. Okay, I've got my wires at hand here to use for the next stage. So my lighthouse is all nice and working, and again, just make sure everything's still okay by checking the lamp is going to work when I make my circuit. Okay, happy? That's great. If there was a problem here, I could check the connector, check the bulb to make sure everything was okay. So there's a list of suppliers on the website to accompany the video, so you can find out where to buy all the materials from that you might need. I want to hide the battery pack inside my maintenance house, so that's a little box I've just cut out, a little door. The bottom's cut off to hide my battery pack or cell pack under there. So I want to take my wires. I'm going to reconnect again. Remember I had the red last time. Okay, it doesn't matter, but I'm just going to put this back together again. And I'm going to use some insulating tape just to join that up now. I've come to the final part of my model, so I'm going to actually make sure that's properly connected, metal touching metal, and I'm going to use some of my tape to secure that up because I don't want that to touch anything else now. I'll insulate that with some of the tape. That's nice and secure, and it won't touch anything inadvertently. So that's that connected up. That leaves me with my gap. I'm going to use my paper clip to join up. Remember our brass paper fasteners? I'm going to use those to make a hole in my maintenance house box. That's where the switch is going to be on the outside of the house, so I can use it easily. I'm going to twiddle that round. Use the pencil to make a bigger hole if you wanted to. I'm going to use the brass paper fasteners to make a hole and push it through. I'm going to take my wires, I'm going to thread those through the holes onto the outside so I can easily attach them to my brass paper fasteners. There's one. You see now where I cut quite a long piece of wire, so there's room for this to be done without it stretching too much or being pulled. I'm through with the black one, there we go. So these two are separated by the gap there, and when they touch together, my light's still working. That's good to know. So next step is to just put the wire into the paper fastener and wind it round. I want the metal to touch the metal, secure it in like that, and then push it through, back through the hole, pulling the wire at the same time, making sure it stays connected. And the same with the other one. This time though, inserting my paper clip into the top of the brass paper fastener. Again, wind it round. You take your time doing this to make sure it's properly secure and won't come undone. Tuck all the wires through, push it together and back through into the maintenance house. Leaving my paper fastener, I can move it up and down to make the switch. Now inside the maintenance house, you'll see I've got my brass paper fasteners sticking up. I'm going to push those down carefully, making sure that they don't touch each other inside the house, because that will just make a circuit by itself without the switch being needed. Push that down. They're not touching in there, you can see that. It's quite important they don't touch. Then I can tuck it all inside. There's my model, tuck all the spare wires inside, and I can just touch my switch, get it to flash. You'll see I've got my last plastic cup as the lantern house to go on top there. That's all working nicely, and I'll leave the switch up so it's not going to waste any electricity from the batteries as I'm working. It's good practice too at the end of the day to take the battery pack out just by taking the connector off overnight or during any length of time, so there's no problem with the battery pack in there. So my next step is to go on to decorating it. So that's my circuit made, my switch is working. Next is decoration. So it's quite difficult, as you imagine, to paint onto plastic. So what we've done is just use a little technique that's very simple and easy and very effective. Some water, some normal PVA glue, a bit of that into the cup. There we go, on top. Just take a paintbrush. I want to put a bit of water just to water it down slightly so it's easier to work with. Give that a whisk around. Some nice watery PVA glue there. Now, it's a good idea to use newspaper or any kind of paper. I find that flip chart paper is really good for this. It absorbs the liquid quite easily and forms a really good surface of painting on. So what we have to do now is to use our glue and water mixture and just paint it onto the plastic. This will help to secure the plastic cups and pots together. Put it on top and then give it a soak with the water and glue. Remove the top lantern just for now. That's and you'll find quite quickly you can cover the surface of the plastic with this paper, glue and water combination. It dries really quickly to give a really good surface for painting on. By the next day, the children will be able to paint their model. I've used acrylic paints for mine, but you can use poster paints or normal school paints, or pens even, are really effective. You could even use coloured paper to get the stripes rather than using white and painting it. If you use coloured paper to start with, that gives the stripes a very nice, neat effect. So again, put glue on the inside of the pot and then paste it on. You can see quite quickly I've got quite a nice surface there already. Smooth it down. Much less messy than paper mache and much easier to work with as well. So I would continue covering the whole of my lighthouse and the surrounding scene with my paper mache or paper and water mixture. Then you'll notice I've painted my lighthouse model and also collected some shells and gravel and stones and just used PVA glue to stick those on. I mixed a mixture of water and PVA glue with the stones and shells and then smoothed it on with a spoon just to smooth it on, and it stuck down really, really well. And the same with the stones as well. And finally, just some paint for a seaside effect there as well. Now, if you don't want to obtain yogurt pots and plastic cups, you can do the same thing by using a crisp tube or other similar tube. What I've done here is the same idea. I've made 2 holes in the top of the tube just with a sharp skewer. I've also cut a little hole in the bottom of a door here just to make a door to thread my wires out. So the same idea you've used with your lamp holder, lamp and wires. Same thing, this time just thread it through top, through the centre, out the bottom, and that's your lighthouse there without any of the threading together the pots and cups. Alternatively, you might want to use a plastic container that had some hand washing liquid in. The same thing, I've made 2 holes in the side there, and my lamp sits on top. Thread the wires through the holes, down through the centre, so you unscrew it. Lamp holder and wires through, put the wires through, a small hole to pull them out at the end, screw the lid on, and again, decorate it in exactly the same way using the paper mache effect of paper, water and glue. And that's really a way of making a nice, effective lighthouse model using a simple circuit and switch.